Okay. So this morning we would learn about verbs. We have learned about verb tenses, but then we'll move to modal verbs. We can also call them the helping verbs. So we have the main modal verbs that are also called main auxiliary verb. We can also have the modal auxiliary verbs. But then before we go fully into learning about verbs, about modal verbs, I want us to quickly talk about infinitive verbs first.
Infinitive verbs.
Yes, sir. So they are called infinitives because they are special forms of verbs. And they are not just verbs. They can be used as a noun. Sometimes they can be used as an adjective. They can also be used as an adverb. Usually they are formed by adding the word to before the base form of a verb. So the base form of a verb is the simplest form of a verb. For example, walk, sleep, go, dance. That's the base form of a verb. So there are some verbs that when we add to the beginning, to at the beginning rather, they change to just being a verb. We can use them as a noun. They can act as an adjective or they can act as an adverb. Those are the kind of verbs we call infinitives. So for example, I can have a sentence such as, I want to go home. In that sentence, to go, let me write out the sentence. I want to go home. So here we have to go. First, let's identify the verbs that we have. We have want. Want is a verb. Go is another verb. But then before go, we have to. So to go here is an infinitive. Because number one, we have added to the base form of a verb, and we are using this to discuss an action without doing the action. You have not started going home, so you have not started the action go, but you're just discussing the action. So to go is an example of an infinitive. I like to be a doctor. To be, you're talking about an action that you have not actually done. You're still discussing the action. To be a doctor. I like to have a new car. I like to hold my baby. So when you have to in front of a base form of a verb, we call such verb infinitive. And it is mainly because we can use that verb, not just as a verb. It can become a noun in some sentences. It can become an adjective in some sentences. It can even become an adverb in some sentences. So infinitives are a form of verb that allows a group of words to be used, maybe as a noun, as an adjective, or as an adverb. Sometimes you can even use them as phrasal verb. A phrasal verb is when you have a preposition and a verb. That's a phrasal verb. We'll talk about phrasal verb moving forward. So most times, the purpose of infinitives is to discuss an action in general, to discuss the action. It means that you have not started the action. You are not doing the action. You're just discussing the action. Let's take another example. I need to win. So you're telling someone what you need to do to win. To win is an infinitive. Let's use the verb in another sentence. So in this sentence, I need to win. We can say that win there is used as a noun. Naturally, win can be a verb. Let's assume there's a football match and you say something like, today we'll win. In the second sentence, you're talking about the action. It's describing the action of winning. So win in the second sentence is a verb. Today we win. In the first sentence, it says, I need to win. Win in the first sentence is acting as a noun because of that word to win. So win here is naming what you need to do. It's telling us the name of that thing you want to do. So remember infinitives. When you add to a verb, if the verb is capable of acting as a noun or an adjective or an adverb, it becomes infinitives.
So in this case, are you saying to win is an infinitive verb?
Yes,
Okay.
to win is an infinitive. It is an infinitive because it has to, and because the verb there is not win again. The verb is now need, just like the first sentence. I need to go home. Without to, go is a verb, want is a verb. But once we add to it, it changes. It becomes an infinitive. Why want becomes the main verb, to go becomes the infinitive. Now, same with I need to win. There are two verbs there, need and win. But because of the two there, win becomes an infinitive. To win becomes the infinitive verb there. Why need is the main verb. Do you understand it, sir?
Yes.
So sometimes infinitives can modify nouns. So it means that they can modify the meanings of noun. For example, we need a hero to save us. We need a hero to save us. The infinitive here is to save.
Yeah.
To with a base form of a verb. Here it is modifying a noun. The noun there is just one noun we have there, hero. We is a pronoun. So we have the noun hero. Hero is the name of the person or the thing we're trying to save, or the person that is trying to save someone. So we need a hero. That is the noun. Then the infinitive, to save us. So to save is modifying the noun, hero. Another example. Would you like something to drink? Would you like something to drink? Please identify the infinitive in the sentence.
To drink.
Very well. So is to drink here, is it modifying any noun? Is there any noun it's modifying?
Is you now you.
Okay, you here is a pronoun. You know, if I say, would Tola like something to drink? Tola is a noun. But now I've replaced the name Tola with
you.
a word, which is you. So pronouns are words that we use instead of nouns. So you is a pronoun. Do you think there's any pronoun here?
That's the pronoun here is the you now.
Sorry, noun, any noun. My question was noun. I was asking if the infinitive to drink is modifying any noun or not. So we need to identify if there is another noun in that sentence.
Something.
Okay,
Yeah.
something is a pronoun. Most
Okay,
words
you said
that
it.
end with.
Then
I'm
in this
listening.
case, the drink here now is the name of okay.
Yes,
No,
in
but
this case now,
it's,
drink is a name of something, a noun.
yes, but we're already using it as the
The
infinitive
infinitive.
verb. Yes.
Yes, so it means that here it is not modifying any noun. Instead, it is the noun. It is the one acting as a noun. That's what I wanted to hear. Remember at the beginning, I said that the infinitive can act as a noun, can change from being a verb. You know, drink can also act as a verb.
Yes.
For example, if I say I am drinking a cup of
Awesome.
wine,
Yeah.
in that sentence, drinking is a verb. But in this sentence, because of the to drink there, it changes it from a verb, excuse me, to becoming the noun itself. So in the first sentence, we need a hero to save us. The infinitive is modifying a noun, hero. Second sentence, the infinitive is acting as a noun itself.
Okay.
So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Same with
Let's say the infinitive
adjectives
can act as a noun or modify a pronoun. I mean, for modify
or
a verb.
modify a noun.
Okay, yes.
It can either act as a noun itself or it modifies a
Yeah,
noun.
now. Okay.
Yes, yes. Now, sometimes the infinitive can also be the subject of a sentence. We already talked about what the subject is. So, for example, if I have a sentence like, to love someone requires understanding. So I have the infinitive to love. To love someone requires understanding. So in this situation, it's not acting as a noun, rather it's just an infinitive. Then it is acting as a subject of the sentence. The subject of the sentence here will be to love someone. To love someone, that's a subject. Requires, that will be the main verb. Understanding. So to love someone requires understanding. So sometimes infinitives can act as a subject of a verb. For example, to learn or to unlearn rather is the greatest form of learning. So please identify the infinitives in the sentence. Hello, sir.
Hello. Sorry, come again, please. I didn't hear you clearly.
Please identify the infinitive in the second sentence. To unlearn is the greatest form of learning.
To unlearn.
Very well, to unlearn.
Yeah.
So, and of course, would you agree that it is acting as the subject of the sentence?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
The
so the
subject
subject
to
of the
unlearn.
sentence is what we're talking about, the subject of the sentence. So, the essence of learning infinitives is to understand that verbs sometimes don't always talk about action that you have done. Sometimes they can discuss an action. Sometimes they can just state an action, etc. So this knowledge of infinitives will guide us when we move forward to learning modal verbs and other types of verbs. But before we go to move through verbs, let's also talk about the gerunds. There's something called gerund. Gerund is spelled Gerund. gerunds. A gerund is a verb in the present participle form, but then it can also act as a noun, just like the infinitives. This type of verbs, they do not just act as verbs, they can also act as nouns. Sometimes they can even act as adjectives or adverbs. That is for infinitives. But for gerunds, they can only act as nouns. But then note that they are always in their past participle form, which means they would always have ing. Now, although there are sometimes that gerunds are interchangeable, sometimes you can interchange gerund and infinitive. That's why in some sentence, it's okay for you to say to, for example, I can say, I swear to tell the truth, instead of I swear of telling the truth. I swear to tell the truth, to tell. I swear of telling. Because of the of there, tell that changes to a gerund. Ing is added. I swear of telling the truth. So in some sentences, we can interchange infinitives and gerunds. If it's a gerund, it will take ing. Oftentimes, gerund begins with of or verb to be as well. Am, can. It's a C. While infinitives, they only have two at the beginning. So how do we use gerunds? Gerunds should never be used as a subject. They are usually used as object, especially object of preposition. For example, I am thinking about going to school. I am thinking about going, the gerund there, going. Not I am thinking about to go back to school. I'm thinking about going to school or going back to school.
What about if you say, I'm thinking of going to school?
Okay. I'm thinking about
No, I'm thinking
going.
of going to school.
Okay, I'll write that out. So
Okay.
I am thinking of going to school. Okay. Thinking of going to school. Okay. Now the first one has the, excuse me, the word about. Now remember that I said that if a gerund is acting as if it's acting as an object, it has to be an object of preposition. So first, about is a preposition. And when we use about, the next gerund, the next word will be a gerund, going to school, which makes the first sentence accurate, grammatically accurate. Now, the second sentence, we have of. Of is also a preposition, right? And of course, if we're using a gerund as an object, it has to follow a preposition. I'm thinking of going to school, also correct. Now, when we now come to analyzing it traditionally, we say that I'm thinking of going to school is informal. It's something you hear more of during conversation. While I'm thinking about going to school sounds more formal. So both are correct. But I can't say I am thinking to go back to school or to go to school. I can't use an infinitive here. Because once I change it to go, it becomes an infinitive. I can't. Another reason why I can't use an infinitive is we have talked about making sure that our verbs are in the same tenses. So the first verb we have here is thinking. It's in the present participle, ing. So the next verb is appropriate that it's also in the same tense, ing, ing. But if I say I am thinking to go back, thinking, present participle, go, simple present, not in the same form. Excuse me, that's another reason why we can't use an infinitive in this kind of a sentence. I hope it's not confusing, sir.
Yeah, I understand.
Very well. So, simply put, what I'm trying to achieve here is sometimes we can use infinitives and gerund interchangeably in sentences. So what helps us to be able to know which one to use is mostly identifying the type of tense you have. Because in such sentence, you would have the main verb. This is the main verb here. And then you would either have the main verb and then the gerund. A gerund is a noun that changes, that you add ing to it and it acts as a noun. Or you have the main verb and maybe an infinitive. So what tells you, this is not infinitive anyway. So what tells you if it is correct is to check the tense in which both verbs are in. They must be in the same verb. I hope that is closer.
Yeah.
Very well. Okay. So now let's move back to modal verbs. So modal verbs. Like I said earlier, modal verbs are also called helping verbs. Modal verb is just one type of verb, just like we have learned infinitive, we have learned gerund. We also have dynamic verb, static verb, among others, transitive verb, intransitive verb. So modal verb is also a type of verb, excuse me, and they can be very tricky, though they're quite easy to learn. So there are two types of modal verbs. We have the auxiliary helping verbs. These are also called the main verbs. And there are three of them. We have be, we have, and then we have do. Be, have, do. We can conjugate these verbs. It means that these verbs can come in different tenses. They can come in present tense, past participle, present participle, future tense, etc. It simply means that we can have them change to their past tense, or we can add ing to it to make it present participle, etc. So for example, the very common one that people struggle with is have. They have one. Be, examples of be, we have is. First we have am, is. And for this, these are the simple present. We can have them in their past tense. So we can have it as was, were.
Yeah.
So these are the be verbs. Then for the have, we have three of them. We can have it in their present form, as in has, have. Has is singular, have is plural. And we can also have it in their past form, had. And then we have do. We can also have it in do, did, does. Do is singular, does is plural, while did is the past form. Let me state that.
Just to come again, you said do is singular.
Yes.
Do.
Does, yes. Now remember that when we talked about verbs, I said that they are quite different from when we talk about verbs.
I was thinking does. I don't think it does is the singular here.
Okay, when we use it, go ahead, sir.
Because let me, for instance, now, she does, he does, it does. But they do, we do. You understand? So I'm thinking that do is for plural, while does is for singular.
Okay.
That was what I was thinking, yeah.
Okay, when we learn them in isolation, we say that do is singular, does is plural. But in sentences, so when we have a sentence where we have a subject and a verb, remember we stated earlier that for verbs, their singular takes the S, they switch, unlike nouns, where singular do not take the S, plural take the S.
Yeah.
So when we are talking about subject formation, verb agreement, then we use does, just like you have explained, as singular. She does, he does, it does.
Yeah.
What do? We use it with a plural noun. They do, etc. So when we talk about verb agreement, you are correct. But in isolation, we say that do is singular, does is plural, what did is past tense. That is when we're talking about the verb forms. But when we're talking about
No, no,
verb
okay, excuse me.
agreement,
That is, you say when we are talking about the verb form,
yes.
okay? Because I need to understand these things very well. This place is very confusing to me.
Okay.
So when you are using them with the noun, it changes.
Yes. When you're using it with a noun, if you have a
Yeah.
singular noun or maybe a singular pronoun, the verb becomes does. So we say she does, he does, it does.
But again, Madam, there's something you say. You can't say you do, you say you do. For you now is singular.
Okay. You,
Yeah.
when we draw out the pronoun tenses, I think you didn't notice when we draw out the pronoun tenses, you can be singular, it can be plural. We can use you as both singular and plural.
Okay.
Just like I, for example,
Yeah.
I as well. Sometimes
Do,
I
yeah.
can go with this or that. So in this case, if we say she, he, it, these are all singular. I is also singular, but I can't say I does. It has to be
No,
I do.
I do. Yes, yes.
Yes. So when we talk about I and you, oftentimes they do not go with she, he, and it. That is because I is first person,
You,
I is
second person.
first person, right? So because
Yes.
I is first person, oftentimes when we use it, we do not use the other form of she, he, or it
It's
because they are not first person.
okay.
Now, when you then talk about you,
Mm.
you is not first person, you is second person. So sometimes you can be the narrator. You did this, etc. Now, because you is a second person, you can act as both singular and plural. Unlike its plural becomes we. So when we get to third person, that's when we have she, he, it, and their plural becomes they. So the second person pronoun you, it remains, it doesn't change both in its singular form and in its plural form. It's confusing. I can't hear you again,
Yes,
sir.
yes, yes, yes. It's clear. Yes, it's clear.
It's clear, right? Yeah. So the second person, you, whether it's singular or plural, we say you eat, right? So same with when we are using the word do, did, and all. You do, whether it's singular or plural, we say you do. But then when it's past tense, we move back to did. You did. So the second person pronoun you is quite different. Why for the third person would always take singular verbs like does, she does, it does, etc. So these here are called the main auxiliary helping verbs. Auxiliary helping verbs, just three of them. So am is present, is present. So I am. But when it comes to third person, she is, he is.
Let's can you excuse me for
You
5 minutes
have,
first?
okay, sir.
Yeah, please.
Tunde, okay, no worry. Try láti clear gbogbo chat tó wà lórí Redmi. Báwo ni ṣe possible? Possible náà. Wàá sọ pé o tó ṣe nǹkan tó lè ṣe ní wọ́n á ní kí ló máa sọ. Ẹ nà, láàrin 5 days wà parí ẹ̀ náà.
Hello, madam. I'm back. Hello, are you there?
Yes, I am. You're welcome back.
Thank you very much.
So let's talk about these verbs one after the other. So the first, yes. So the first verb, the be verbs, we call them the be verbs. We have verbs like am. So we use that for first person. I am. I am. I am learning. Then we have are. We can use that for second person and third person, present tense. So I can say, You are, second person, you are sleeping. And I can say they are, they becomes plural now. They are sleeping. Then I have is. This is for third person singular. He is sleeping. She is sleeping. It is sleeping.
Hey, madam, just a
Now
minute,
in
please.
the
Because this
past
place,
form,
I really
yes,
need
please.
to. This is one of the major places I'm
Okay.
having issues. Now, this are now are that is used for third person, but it must be in the plural form, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. Okay.
So we can use are for second person you are sleeping. We can also use for third person plural, they
Okay.
are sleeping. Then we have is. So this is for third person singular. So I would have she is sleeping. He is sleeping. It is sleeping. So are, and is, they're all used in the present tense. So now let's go to past tense.
Sorry, excuse me, madam.
I'll delete this.
Am, are, and is are used in the present
Okay.
tense, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Is that clear,
Okay.
sir?
Yes.
Should I proceed? Okay. So now let's go to the ones that are used in the past tense. So for past tense, we can use was. So I can say, I was sleeping. First person singular, I was sleeping. I can also use the second person, you. Sorry. Now let's go to where. So I can use the second person for where. You were sleeping. I can also use the third person singular. They were sleeping. So where can be the past tense of are. You are sleeping. When it becomes past, it becomes you were sleeping. They are sleeping. When it becomes past, it becomes they were sleeping. So the third person, he
Madam, just a moment.
was
Just a moment. Just a
okay.
moment, please. You said
Okay.
the past tense for and you said are or and are is you said was
Past
and yeah.
tense. Okay. Past tense for are is where.
Are, right?
Yes, are. Present,
Okay.
past. So are. Where you use are, you can change it to where. Now, past
Okay.
tense of am
Was.
was. Past
Okay.
tense of is was. Is it clear now?
Okay. That is to say, am and is have the same past tense as was.
Yes, they have the same past form as was. Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
So that's it for the be verb. So let's go to the do verb and then we go to the have verb. Well, the do verbs. So the base form is usually do, just like we said earlier. So I do, you do, correct. Then we can have does. So we have three of them: do, does, did. We can even have done and then doing. These are all the what's it called now? The forms of do. So the simplest form is do. Excuse me. So like I explained earlier, so for do, it's present simple. It is a simple present tense. So I can use sentences like I do. That is the first person.
Yeah, you do.
You. Second person. We do. First person plural. They do. Third person plural. So if you look very well, you realize that I is not plural. I is singular, but it goes with do. You can be singular, it can be plural. It goes with do. We and they are plural. So the plural of I is we. The plural of they. The plural of he or she is they. So we or they are both plural and goes with do. So because it's a mixture, not just say do is a plural word. So that was why I said that in basic form, do is the simplest form. So it's singular, does is plural. But in sentences, it can it can agree with singular verbs, singular nouns, or singular pronouns like I or you.
Madam, please
You can
come
also
again.
agree with
What was the
plural
first
like you,
sentence?
we, or they.
No, Madam, come again, please. What was the first before this statement? What did you say? The issue of does being a plural form.
You're welcome back. Can you hear me, sir?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay, you're welcome back. So
Okay.
you were asking a question earlier.
No, the point where you were saying does can be used as plural. That's where I am confused.
Okay. I didn't say it can be used as plural.
Because
I said that when we are grouping, naturally we don't say singular verb, plural verb.
yes.
Unlike nouns. For nouns, once we have learned about nouns, we start to analyze nouns into singular and plural. Verbs, they do not have singular and plural.
I can't hear you clearly, mother.
Okay. Is it better now?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, I said that verbs do not have singular and plural. What
Okay,
we
I
have
understand,
for
but
verbs,
yeah,
so what we have for verbs is their base form. So
yes,
I said that the simplest base form is do, then does, did, done, and doing. So I said in sentences, when we then start to talk about verb agreement, we start to talk about verb agreement.
yeah,
I started by explaining how we use do. So I said do can be used for both singular and plural.
yes,
Sentence like I do or
yes.
you do.
You do,
We
yes,
can assume that you is singular. Then we can also use it as plural, like you can also be plural. You
they
do,
do,
we do, or they do.
they do, yes,
So when we go to does is used for third person singular.
yes.
So he does,
She
she
does, he does,
does,
yeah,
or it does.
yeah.
So because the pronouns are singular, it is safe to say that does is acting as a singular verb here. Do you get it?
Yes,
But in isolation, if we're standing alone, we cannot categorize does as singular or plural because we do not have singular verbs, plural verbs in isolation. We only have them in sentences, which is called verb agreement.
okay,
Then we have did. Did is past tense. Both does and do are present simple, the present form. Why did is the past form for both.
but you are not too audible like that, Sydney. I don't know. Maybe it's from your
How about
speaker.
now?
Sorry?
How about now?
Yes, yes, yes. Now I can hear you well.
Okay. So I said that did is past form. Do and does, they are both present simple. They are both used for present tense. Why
Yeah,
past? We change it to did.
did,
So I can say, I did, you did,
did,
we
yeah,
did, they did.
did.
Then when we talk about done, done is used as past participle. Past participle. Participle. So I can also say, I am done. You are done. She is done. He is done. It is done. And then we have the last form, which is doing. And that is the ing form, present participle. They are doing, I am doing, you are doing, we are doing, they are doing. So all present plurals can go with the past participle, the present participle, and the past simple. So it is only the present simple that you have to be conscious of the forms, the pronoun forms or noun forms that goes with do or does.
Okay.
So is this clear now?
Yes, very clear.
So the last type of auxiliary helping verbs that we have is have. So just like I said, for do, have is the, excuse me, base form. So I have. That is the base form. So have, I can also have I have. I have. You have. We have. They have. So singular, first person singular, second person singular or plural, and then we have the third person, excuse me, plural, and the first person plural. All of these can go with have. Then, of course, can have its negative form, like haven't.
Yeah.
So same way, I haven't, you haven't, we haven't, they haven't. Now, the past tense of have is had. Before we even go to had, let's go talk about has. So has here goes with third person singular.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yes. He has.
Yeah.
She has.
It has.
It has. Then the past tense, had. So whether you have used have or had, when it's in the past form, it changes to had.
Yeah.
So I can have, I had, you had, we had, they had, he had, she had, it had. Then I can have the ing form, the present participle, having. Now, when we talk about having now becomes a gerund. Now, there are some gerunds that we cannot use in some sentences. So, for example, I hear people say things like, we are having English now. So there are some there's some sentences in English where we can't use the word having. Even though we're trying to use the past participle, we'll get there to further explain that. So sometimes it is best to use the infinitives of have, to have, instead of
Well,
the
I'm struggling to
gerund.
hear you, please.
What's wrong with this laptop today? Is it better now?
Yes, it's better now.
Okay, so I was talking about the last form of have, which is having. So I said that there are some verbs that we cannot use their gerund form, their ing form. Remember, gerund form is when you have ing at the end of a verb, and it's acting as a noun, having. Like words like owing, having. In some sentences,
Can't hear you. Can't hear you anymore. Hello? Network.
Can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me, sir? Hello?
Okay, hello. Sorry,
Okay,
there's a
can you?
bit of network glitch or something. I don't know.
Yes, please. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem.
So I was talking about the last form of have, which is having. I said that most times we use having wrongly, that there are ways to using having properly. And then we'll tend to learn that when we get to learning about infinitive verbs. So let's move to the difference between can and could. So just like we have seen the auxiliary helping verbs, we also have the modal helping verbs. So these we have can, could, shall, should, will, must, etc. So let's start with can. Can is also the base form of the verb can, while its past simple is could. But then how do we use them? Can most times is used to talk about someone's ability, what you can do. I can jump high in the sky. I can speak better. I can book that appointment for you right now if you'd like. Your ability, what you can do. White code, like I stated, is the past tense of can. You can also express someone's ability. So Emma could have pitched a perfect game if his manager had kept him in. I can run fast. He couldn't answer the question. I can't promise anything. He could have called to notify his absence. So can could talks about abilities. And of course, one is present, which is can, and could is past. Aside from that, can also be used to describe things that are likely to happen or not happen. So for example, you can get an upset stomach from eating too many mangoes. Too many is usually used for negative things. So this can happen. You're talking about something that is likely to happen or not to happen. I really think Steve could win the season of the Great British Baking Show. So can and could, they're used for two main things. One, to express abilities, and the other is to talk about things that is likely to happen. Now, the other type
But
of
this will
modal
say
verb, sir?
at least to say that they can be used to express possibility and ability, right?
Yes, possibility and ability. So
Okay.
possibility, what might happen, ability, what you can do. Then let's talk about may. So, because a lot of people misuse can and may. Sometimes we can interchange them, but most times we should not. Depends on what we're talking about. So how do we use may in sentences? Now, may most times suggests probability as well, but it suggests a greater degree of probability. So when I'm talking about can earlier, I said that can also be used for probability in your words, which of course is correct. But when you're talking about the highest degree of possibility, especially in formal settings, it is more appreciated when you use the word may. So for example, they may come to the office tomorrow, etc. Another thing you need to know about may, which is very important, is may is mostly used for request. So when you use may and you do not want to use please, which is fine, it makes your request to be perceived genuine. So when you're making a request or you want to make your request to be nice, it is preferable to use the word may.
Okay, madam.
May I?
If you use maybe could, I think that looks more. Could I use your pen, or may I use your pen? Which is better?
Okay. May I use your pen is better. First, could is past.
Okay.
We use could for past tense. It's the past form of can. According to verb forms, could is the past tense of can. So could is preferable, is best used in situations where you can use can in their past form.
Okay.
So if I want to use a pen, it should be, may I use your pen? May I use your pen, please? May I use a pen? To make a request, polite request. We also use may to ask permission, to request permission. For example, may I come with a guest? You're asking for permission, you're requesting for permission. But then could is best used when you can use can, but in its past form. So talking about the word borrow your pen, the sentence you stated earlier, could I borrow your pen? Am I correct? Was that a sentence you stated earlier?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Could I borrow your pen? So in that sentence, first, you're making it look like you're asking if you have the ability to use the person's pen.
Okay.
So if the what's the word now? If the intention is to state your ability or to ask if you have the ability to use the pen, then that question will be correct in its past form. But if you're
Okay.
seeking permission or you're making a request, the best word to use, best modal verb to use is may. May I use your pen? May I use your pen? That is the best word to use.
I get it right now.
So now let's go to might. Might is the past form of may, just like we have could being the past form of can. So in the past tense, where I can use might, may, I can change it to the past tense to become might. So I can have examples like, I might buy a private island if I win the lottery. If I win the lottery, I might buy a private island.
Then also, madam, some people, I heard people saying, so I say, let me just use this first sentence you made here. Say,
Okay.
they may come to the office tomorrow. Some people can say, they might come to the office tomorrow.
Okay. Now, when you're describing an unlikely situation, or maybe it's just a complete speculation, you're
Yeah.
not sure at all, it's best you use might. But if you're describing a likely situation, take note of that word, likely and unlikely,
Okay.
then you use may. So for example, let's assume we're expecting some people in the office and I made a call for you. So they stated that, okay, we would consider coming tomorrow. So it's likely. So I would say they may come to the office tomorrow. But if it is unlikely, perhaps I had put a call through and maybe they didn't answer the call, or the person who answered the call didn't sound certain. That is unlikely. Then I would say
Okay.
they might. So both are correct. It depends on what you're trying to say. May is used for likely speculation. Something that is likely to happen. The possibility of it happening is greater or higher.
That is to say, it's not all cases you use. It's not all cases might represent
Yes,
past. Okay.
may.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. It's also not in all cases that might works as past, especially when you're asking questions. Same with could. I was going to get to that part. Could and might, even though they are past forms, especially in questions, sometimes they do not talk about past. They could also be used for things that are yet to happen. But I guess you're clear with that particular question.
That is why the thing is confusing, because if the well, okay.
English is I like to say English is illogical. It's not straightforward.
Yeah.
It's not straightforward. So sometimes we could interchange some words in some situations. Don't interchange them in other situations. Because normally may and might, naturally, even if you go to the dictionary, the first information that we give is may is often used in present tense, while might is used in past tense. But moving forward, you also learn that may can be used to talk about something that describes probability, likely probability. The chances of it happening is greater. White might is used for unlikely probability. The chances of it happening is really slim.
Okay.
Then still on may can be used to give or ask for permission, especially if you want it to be polite. One might can be used to describe situations that did not occur. So a situation that did not occur, you can also use might. So let's consider some sentences. For past form, I would say she might be wearing a hat. So if I say something like she might be wearing a hat, she has not come. We have not seen her. But maybe because occasions like this, she'll have to come apart, or maybe because it's a sunny day, she will usually come apart. So she might be wearing a hat. I'm not so sure, but I feel she will wear a hat. Let's take another example. Like, if I win the lottery, I might buy a private island. I've not even won the lottery, so it's not past. It's not past. I've not won the lottery. But then in the second part of the sentence, I says might. I might buy a private island. So the situation here is the word if. We have what we call the if conditional sentences. If this happened, this would happen. If this did not happen, this would not happen. So if I don't win, it's certain I will not buy a private island. But if I win, I might buy a private island. It's not past, but it's describing something that might happen, an unlikely speculation. Another example, I will do all I can to make it to the meeting, but I might be late. I will do all I can to make it to the meeting, but I might be late. Same as the last example I gave. The meeting has not started. Maybe the meeting is tomorrow, but there's a likely possibility that I will get there late. So these things contradict each other. So just like when we learned tenses, what helps you to be able to choose what you feel works better is your own meaning. Just like when people ask questions like, do you know, did you know? When I go on social media, you see people asking things like, do you know that? Do you know that? And another person might use the past form. Did you know that? The first one, do, the base form, present, did, past. Do you know? It means that right now, are you aware that so? Did you know? Did is asking that maybe you have known before. As at yesterday, did you already know? Or now that you're reading this article, did you already know? Are you aware before reading this article?
But the two can be confused as the same thing.
Okay, they are passing the same message, but in different
Yes.
tone.
Well, so most people see them as the same thing. Maybe they
Yes,
can
most
use
people
them. I can use them for something in the present or in not even
ex
thinking of the past.
exactly.
Yeah.
So English can be really, really annoying, especially when it comes to verbs. Verbs seem to be the trickiest part of English grammar. Verb seems to be the trickiest part of English grammar. So the best way to learn verbs is to consider time difference. Consider the timing. So what you're trying to explain, consider the time factor it has. Then also when you're talking about speculations, you have to be careful. When you're also talking about request or permission, it also depends on the tone you're trying to come up with. May is said to be more formal than can or could. May is formal
No,
than can.
you're not audible. You're not that audible.
Okay. I said
Okay.
that
Can hear you now.
May is formal than can. May I be excused from the meeting, please? Instead of can I be excused from the meeting, please? So may is used in more formal situations instead of can. Can is used mainly for possibilities. And then when we get to the past form of both, might and
Okay,
can.
as you see, when you say can is used for possibilities. If you ask somebody, if you ask him that, can I be excused? That means he's asking for the possibility of if he can be excused. That means the can is
Yes,
correct, right?
the can is correct, but the meaning is different. Can I be excused is different from may I be excused. May I be excused is a request. You're asking permission. May I be excused? You're seeking permission, just like a child that is asking, may I eat the biscuit? The request, the reply is either a yes or a no. Can I be excused? It means that if I leave this meeting, will it affect anything? So if it's not convenient for the board of directors or those in the meeting, then you have to stay back. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
I understand.
There's a difference between you asking for permission and it's just like when you're asking someone, let's assume you need a cup of water and you're saying, can you please get me a cup of water? And the other person says, please get me a cup of water. So if I ask, can you please get me a cup of water? I can decide to say, no, I can't get a cup of water. But if I say, please get me a cup of water, I would go and get the water and bring it to you, even when it's not convenient.
Though in everyday communication, people mix up this thing.
In
Can I,
daily
may I, all this stuff like that.
in daily conversation, people just use them for communication purposes. And because we live in an environment where people easily understand you, or should I say
Exactly.
people assume that they understand you, so they just come up with answers. So that is why
Yeah.
it seemed like to young English learners, a lot of young English learners do not pay attention to English in classroom. They just learn for learning's sake because they believe that's what I speak every day.
Yeah.
But the truth is, in what we speak every day, there are lots of damages, a lot of them, a lot of them.
Uh,
So, in summary, may is preferred in formal situation. May is used for request. Can is used for possibility, the possibility of you doing something or how it would affect others. Can also be used to show your ability, what you can do, what you cannot do. Then their past form, which is the trickiest part of it, could and may, both are past forms. Could, past form of can, may, might, past form of may. But then when we use them, when we talk about speculations, we use might for unlikely situations, while we use may for likely situations. Now, when it comes to asking questions as well, may is preferred in formal situations. Now, in questions, asking questions as well, we could also use could to ask questions. So, for example, could I use your phone? That's an accurate question. Could I use your phone or could I use the phone? So here, I'm talking about how it would affect you if I use the phone.
but in this
Can I
case,
have
now
a
code is not
class?
speaking about past.
It's not talking about past now.
Yeah.
I got it in the question, excuse me. Code is not in the past now because it's in a question. You're using it as a question now. Could you explore other alternatives? Could you
Are you
stay
saying that?
indoors?
Are you
Meaning,
saying that? Are you saying that could is used in the past tense only when it's used as, to ask a question?
no.
Okay. Okay.
Pay attention to that word only when. English doesn't work like that. There would always be exceptions.
Yeah.
In statements, in sentences, could is used mainly for questions. Mainly. Doesn't mean we can't use it for other things. I could smell the food burning, but I wasn't sure. That means maybe someone just realized, you're like, I could smell it for some while now, but I wasn't sure. It's talking about something that happened in the past and it's still progressing. But if I'm asking a question, most times the questions would not be in the past. Could you get a cup of water? Could you come with a guest? Or could I come with a guest at the party? So just like may, could, when making use of it as request or as possibility, you're fine to use it without the past tense in a question form. Could I spend my weekend with you? The weekend has not come. But because you want it to be a permission, you're seeking permission. So could is better. If I say can is not permission now. Take note
Yes.
of those two words. It's
Yes.
all about the intention. It's about the intention. Can I sleep over? So the person will be like, oh, you can sleep over, but this, blah, 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 blah. If I said, could I sleep over? Oh, I'm sorry, you can't. The intentions are different. One is permission. You're seeking request. So the answer should be a yes or a no. The other is the ability. If I want to do this, what happens? It's going to affect anything. Somebody coming around, etc. So when you're asking a question for permission request, like I stated earlier, it is best to use may. The next alternative is could, informal setting. But in everyday conversation, people prefer to use can. Can I do this? Can I do that? Can I do this? Can I?
Exactly.
In everyday conversation, but it doesn't make it correct or make it accurate. So in formal setting, it is appropriate to use may, and you can also consider could. Could I read the minutes, the last minute of the meeting? Could you start the proceedings? May I start the proceedings? Both are correct in formal settings. Can I start the proceedings? We hear people say that, but it doesn't make it accurate. Now you're not seeking permission. You're not seeking request. You're talking about ability. So it all depends on what you're trying to say. Is it clearer now?
Yes, quite understood.
Okay. So when we meet tomorrow, we'll proceed to talking about will, should, shall, must, etc. Those are the other module auxiliary verbs that we have. So I'm going to send you a short task to do to help you practice the use of could, can, may, and might to be sure you have got it before tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so have a great afternoon.
You too. All right, bye.
Bye-bye, sir.